Magic mirror on the wall, who's the scariest of them all? I'm only allowed to tell you this. Turn around and enter the abyss.
I like it.
Wow, that was pretty cool. From one of our viewers, apparently, named Car Scar. What a nice comment. Thank you so much.
On YouTube, right?
Yeah, it was on our police episode where we were talking about ghosts that hunt the police.
Yeah, that video generated a lot of comments, which is awesome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and sharing your comments with us.
Whether you like us or dislike us, it's all there.
Just keep them coming. And while we're talking about this and prepare to enter the abyss once more, we're sipping on a lovely Moosehead Canadian lager.
It's good.
It's delicious,
Good. I feel like if I was a skinwalker hunting someone in the woods trying to like eat them and kill them, I would sit down and have this Moosehead Canadian lager.
Right. I have a thing though, right? Whenever I'm buying a beer for the podcast, I don't even like look at what kind of beer it is. I just go straight for the can. And then I get in the car, I'm like, oh, I wonder what kind of beer I got. I could buy the fruitiest, most ridiculous, sour-ass thing ever, and I'd be like, oh, the can looked cool, and it's the most disgusting beer in the world.
So what you're saying is all you care about is the cans. Britain's a can gal.
Pretty much. A can gal? Yeah, I guess. You pinned me, man. I am a can gal through and through.
Well, you know what? Tonight, we're going to get a little bit conspiratorial.
Oh, are you saying we're going back to the iceberg?
Oh, yeah, dude. I am ready. We are about to get to another level, which is level motherfucking 5.
Tier 5.
Clete, so, when you swear, it loses sponsors. YouTube won't recommend us to other people. Well, I like to swear, and I'm sorry.
Said the Uton. You have taken thou Lord's name in vain. Sorry about it. But, yes, Tier 5. So, Tier 5 is the Animaster tier, and it is described as such. This kind of knowledge is often hidden in plain sight or can be found in very ancient texts, after meticulous researches that may take dozens of years. From this point on, sane people have a hard time even understanding most of these concepts. The journey starts here. So what the fuck have we been doing this whole time if we're just now getting started?
Yeah, once you research this, you can't go back. Once you hear it, you can't go back. It is literally the mouth of madness. You read that book, you'll go insane.
Yeah, but we're just barely hitting the halfway point with this tier. Like, I think from like an iceberg's perspective, I think that we've just entered the icy water as we're going deeper.
Into the shaft.
Going deeper into the shaft? I don't know if you want to go into the shaft. But a couple things before we do get started, a couple of awesome things we've done. We are now officially on TikTok.
Oh, yeah, super exciting. We're trying to post maybe one video a day. We're not there yet. I'm still learning how to do it, but it's really cool because we get to put what I like to feel like it's the candy bit of the episodes. They're like 2 to 5 minutes long. We post them on there. Take a listen if you like it.
Right. It's so under Enter the Abyss. I think it's at Britain Cleet, though. I believe is what you did. Cleet put it together, so, cheers to you for that. But yeah, it's little snippets. We've got a couple on there now, so if you like it, throw a little heart emoji in there, I think, is what you do, and follow us, and, every little bit helps. And we're pretty terrible at the whole social media gig. I'll be the first to admit that we kind of slack off with that, so I apologize. But we are on TikTok now, so that's pretty cool.
Let's fucking do this.
I do have to say, though, that this tier had a lot of information. Like, I literally thought that it was easier to research this tier than most. And it's like, oh, it's going to take 12 years of research, according to the definition, but it did not.
I spent hours for you guys, and I only did half of it. Britain did the other.
And this is only half of tier 5. So we did half of the tier. Just like typical fashion, we'll go in sections of 3, and I will start with something called Magic of the State. This theory revolves around a book titled The Magic of the State, written by Michael Tossig. So I have not read the book. I won't be able to get into like a super deep dive because I didn't have time to read a book in a matter of a couple days. But from what I was able to gather from online, it talks about this magic spirit queen who creates this magical realm for citizens to inhabit. It sounds pretty charming, right?
Yeah, sure, I'll live in it.
So I think it would be an interesting read for sure, but the theory doesn't revolve around the legitimacy of the book, but rather that it's alluding to our own government and state, and that we are all living in this illusion, so to speak, and abide by the state and government. So this queen supposedly is a metaphor for our government, and they build this illusion that we all live in and follow.
Creepy. You know, the Germans were really into like magic and stuff like that. You know, when Hitler was trying to fight the dinosaurs in Agartha, I'm kidding.
He's still down there, man.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy if you look into that stuff. Like the Spear of Destiny, they were trying to find that shit.
So that's magic of the state. Just a little, mind-bending. Next up is something called the Crank Incident. Have you seen the movie Crank with Jason Statham?
No, I think I've heard of it, though.
So this theory revolves around the third film in the series. And if you're thinking, well, there isn't a third film, that's where this theory comes into play. If you haven't seen Crank, it is really wild. Like, it's about this guy who, is played by Jason Statham. He's been poisoned, and if he stops moving or if his heart rate drops below a certain level, he dies.
Okay, yeah, I've never heard of it.
Right? It's wild, dude. It's insane. So, as you can imagine, he doesn't want to die, so he's constantly moving, doing crazy shit. A lot of, unacceptable shit. Like, there's a couple scenes in there that are just like, well, okay, I just saw that. That's awesome. But the shenanigans just keep going. So anyways, there's 2 movies to be seen, and a third one was supposedly set to be released, but simply vanished. The theory revolves around why it was buried and forgotten and has several suggestions. Some theorists state that it was so politically incorrect that Lionsgate refused to release it. The films don't depict women in a very good light, and that could contribute to the theory. But there are other suggestions, such as leaning too far to the left or vice versa, depending on the theorists. One theory states that Jason Statham may have exposed Hollywood and their involvement in satanic cults and things of that nature, but essentially the Crank Incident simply revolves around the disappearance of the third film. So people are like, well, where the fuck did it go? I want to watch this movie.
Hey, I'm sure Hollywood has nothing sketchy going on in it. I'm sure there's no predators there. I'm sure they're all just upstanding people that are super rich, that are using their money to make the world a better place.
Of course. There's nothing shady. It's like the cleanest business there is.
I mean, are you like a conspiracy theorist? Like shit, man. I mean, it's great over there.
Yeah. The grass is greener on that side. Anyway, moving on to something called the Sycamore Knoll. Roughly 6 miles from the coast of Malibu's Point Dume in California lies this strange anomaly known as the Sycamore Knoll. This area is renowned for UFO and USO, which is unidentified submerged object, sightings. One specific object has captured the attention of the UFO research community here, which is a stadium-shaped structure approximately 2,000 feet underwater. So it's just like an underwater stadium, man.
Yeah, they're just like aliens fighting each other.
Well, theorists believe this to be some form of alien base where they do all sorts of crazy alien shit. It's believed to be 2.5 to 3 miles wide. Back in 2014, a radio personality by the name of Jimmy Church, better known as Captain of Conspiracy. How do I get a nickname like that?
He sounds like a cool guy.
So he referenced the Sycamore Knoll on his show Fade to Black, calling it a hub of USO and UFO activity going back 40 years. Some believe that it could be an access point to Area 51. That's how you get there. You just go down into the ocean, you go under some underground tunnels, and there you are, Area 51.
Well, wrap myself in tinfoil, let's go.
Some theorists think that it might be a distraction from a nearby naval base called Point Mugu. That's a naval base I'd want to be at. Yeah. I'm at Point Mugu.
Sounds like some type of weird Japanese anime.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Either way, something strange seems to lurk below the waters in California. Of course, it'd be in California. That's my 3, man. What do you got?
All right. The first one is reactionless drive. The reactionless drive is the idea of a device producing motion without the exhaust of a propellant. Just like free energy, devices would necessarily break the first rule of thermodynamics. Reactionless drives would apparently necessarily break Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. However, even with this concept breaking Newton's third law, it hasn't stopped people from speculating or even designing devices that they believe could create a reactionless drive. One interesting proposed engine is the helical engine. The engine would exploit the relationship with mass increasing as a spacecraft approaches the speed of light. The person who made this describes it as a new concept for an in-space propulsion is proposed in which the propellant is not ejected from the engine, but instead is captured to create a nearly infinite specific impulse. I don't know what that means, but yeah. People just believe that there's a way to build a drive where you don't need propellant, and that's how we'll become a spacefaring species.
Speaking of spacefaring, did you see those amazing pictures from the James Webb Telescope, man?
No.
You haven't seen them yet?
Big fan of the James Webb Telescope because
You're fucking kidding though that you haven't seen the images yet.
No, I haven't. I will eventually.
You keep reading. I'm gonna pull it up for you right now, man.
All right.
This pisses me off.
We're going to jump into the next one. Enneagram. Enneagram is a personality system that describes patterns in how people interpret the world and manage their emotions. It describes how each of us, based on our individual traits and childhood experiences, fits into one of the 9 personality types. Each type has its specific core motivations and fears that influence your approach to life. These influences will define your relationships, what careers you may find inspiring, and what triggers, stress, and conflict influence you. Once you better understand your core fears and motivations, you can become enlightened and become your best self. I took the test because I was bored while I was researching this, and apparently I'm the personality type 5. 5 tries to master the world by understanding it and collecting information.
That's definitely you.
Processing things mostly in their mind. 5 are cerebral, detached, and sober. Not totally sober. They
semi-sober.
Yeah. They want to understand the world and protect their privacy and independence so they can live on their own terms.
And what test is this again?
It's the Enneagram personality test.
Enneagram, okay.
They like to analyze the world, dissect it, go to the bottom of things, and feel like they are really understood everything there is to understand before they make a move. 5s are great at looking at things rationally but struggle to leave their lookout posts and engage with life. Their instincts are to withdraw, detach, and keep them at themselves. It can make it hard for other people to know what's really going on in the life of a 5. Yeah.
That is so you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
it is so you.
A little bit.
You're up on your little post. You're like, fuck everyone else. I need to know how things work.
I'm in my own head.
Give me some whiskey.
Pretty interesting. You know, it's free online, so check it out. I thought it was pretty interesting.
It is pretty interesting. But while you're transitioning, look at that. Look how cool that is, man.
Yeah, it's space and galaxies
James
and bullshit.
Space. It's crazy. There's more though. That's just the main one. But anyway, please continue.
All right, the next one is Cometary Earth. The building blocks of life on Earth are called diploids, and it's a mystery of where these diploids come from. Cometary Earth theory postulates that these diploids could have formed on interplanetary dust and been carried down to Earth on comets. Chemists from the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Hawaii, Mona, showed that conditions in space are capable of creating complex diploids. They say, our results indicate that the radiation-induced, non-enzymatic formations of protogenic diploids in interstellar ice analogs is facile. Once synthesized and incorporated into the building material of solar systems, biomolecules at least as complex as diploids could have been delivered to habitable planets such as early Earth by meteorites, comets, thus seeding the beginning of life as we know it. So essentially, if you were to put this in layman terms, is that what started life was little diploids like comets and asteroids that hit Earth, and that became like what life came from. It was the engine of life, essentially.
Huh. Okay. And you know that's a theory now, huh?
Fun. Yeah.
All right, well, let's kick things off with something called the Rockmen. This theory revolves around the mysterious rock apes of Vietnam during the Vietnam War. So during the war, several American GIs would report seeing strange beasts in the jungles and mountains. These creatures were well known by the locals, but to strangers, they'd probably cause you to shit your pants a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
They were described as a humanoid, hairy biped. It would lurch at them and would even attack at certain points. So, like, you're in wartime and you're cruising through these jungles, right? And you have to worry about these humanoid, hairy bipeds chasing after you. They became known by the GIs as the rock apes. They were roughly 6 feet tall, stout, and very muscular. They had protruding stomachs and were completely covered in hair ranging from black to brown in color, except their knees, soles of their feet, hands, and face, which were bare. They often traveled in troops and attacked humans without a second thought. So, when I was researching this, there's a bunch of journal entries and like interviews and everything. So like there's a bunch of really crazy stories. But, just kind of thinking about, you're in wartime already, having to worry about like the enemy and then having to worry about these rock apes. It's ridiculous. So that's the Rockmen.
These goddamn apes.
This one's cool. This is Capdu. We've heard of giants. We've covered giants a couple times. And we've heard of mummies. I think we've covered mummies, like the mummy flakes, right?
Yeah.
Put them in your coffee in the morning. You're
Every
living a healthy
morning.
life. But have we heard of a giant mummy? What about a giant mummy with 2 heads? This is where the theory of Capdu begins. The remains of 11.5-foot 2-headed mummy were found. The story tells of this giant being captured in 1673 by Spanish sailors and being held captive. Can you imagine? You're just like traveling across in a boat and you see this big old 2-headed giant. You're like, oh, let's just go take care of it. Let's kidnap it.
Jesus.
The giant was killed with a pike through the chest after trying to escape. The story basically ends after that, so that's really all the information we have on the origins. But the remains found their way to England during the 19th century. The remains ended up at West End's Burnbeck Pier in 1914, and it remained there for 45 years until Lord Thomas Howard purchased the remains in 1959.
I like mummies like I like my coffee.
With 2
Dead.
heads?
Dead.
The remains somehow ended up in Baltimore, Maryland, in a strange collection at Bob's Sideshow at the Antique Man Limited, owned by Robert Gerber and his wife. I feel like we need to check out the Antique Man.
Yeah.
Theorists go on to state that this is proof that giants once existed and walked the earth, where others believe the remains to be fake. The remains are said to be real, and that Capdu was a real living creature at one point. 11.5-foot 2-headed giant, man.
He was just a mummy looking for his way home, man.
A little bit. Okay, so the next one is protodytes. So do you remember the whole Nexus 7 thing we covered last year where I found absolutely nothing on it?
Nope.
Yeah, well...
Wait, yes, I do. The phone. You said the phone kept coming up.
Nexus 7, nothing. This theory is just like that. It doesn't exist, or it's extremely well hidden because there is absolutely nothing on it. So, when you grew up, did you ever play with the little Bionicle Legos?
No.
You never played with Bionicles?
Never had Legos.
Well, I played with Bionicles, and they were amazing, but apparently this is part of, like... There's, like, some lore in Bionicle where prototypes is the thing, but... Like, look, if you as a listener have cracked the code and you're like, oh, duh, prototypes, I know what that is, just comment, because there's nothing. You can Google it all you want, and you're not going to find a goddamn thing. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, damn. Max Spires. Spires had been interested in conspiracy theories from a young age. He later recalled various events, including out-of-body experiences, which he used to justify conspiracy theories, including the belief that he had been given supernatural powers at birth. At a conference given in Warsaw, Poland, he described the way he believed he was created/born. Not naturally, but through some governmental force.
Where were you born? I wasn't born, I was created.
Spires believed in a variety of paranormal events, such that he had been altered as a child to become a super soldier.
This guy sounds like he's all there.
Which was a term he disliked. He's a person, okay?
I am a super soldier, and I do not like that term.
Max claimed that this super soldier side of him was simply inactive. All he was waiting for was a trigger word to wake this side of him up. Max Spires had been suspicious that people were after him. He even had predicted his own death days before in a text to his mother. The text read, "Your boy is in trouble. If anything happens to me, investigate." On the 16th of July, 2016, Spires died on the sofa of his friend's couch in their house in Warsaw, Poland. Damn. Max was in the Warsaw for a UFO convention. At this convention, Max was going to present many of his ideas and conspiracy theories around UFOs. A few days before the convention, Max was found on his friend's couch dead before he could speak of his ideas. One doctor stated that Spires was found vomiting a dark fluid, which is a symptom of sulfuric acid poisoning.
Wow.
That's not a good way to go. Sulfuric acid.
But I think that you should, every time you text your mom now, you should start with your boy.
Your boy's gonna die.
Your boy's hungry. Send over pizza rolls.
For real. I need some tostadas.
Your boy is missing his mom. I'm coming over, Mom.
All right.
Your boy is sad.
Oh. The last one is acoustic attacks. This is Yeah.
Like getting beaten with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, just hits the bejesus out of you. Yeah, that used to be my word. I forgot about that.
It used to be your word. Oh my God. Patented by Cleet. But Jesus.
This is a reference to an event that happened in an American embassy in Cuba, August 2017. Several U.S. and Canadian embassy members all of a sudden started feeling intense pain in their heads and were unable to think or function.
It's called a migraine.
They were all evacuated out of the embassy, and it turns out that they suffered severe brain damage. Although there were no direct sources of this attack, it was believed that the acoustic attack was a culprit. This is a low-frequency sound that generally does not register as a noise to humans. This sound can lead you to pain or passing out. This technology definitely exists and is used for riot control. These attacks happen so often in Cuba, it is coined as Havana Syndrome. And it generally happens only with, like officials visiting there, specifically U.S. or Canada.
You just blast this noise and you're like, I'm losing my mind.
Now I have brain damage. Where is my mind?
It's a good song. So this theory is called Bloodletting Magic. Look at all the magic ones.
Yeah, I do that all the time, you know?
Abracadabra. This one ties into some of the previous conspiracies we've covered, like the elitist groups using blood to make themselves younger by, like bathing in it, getting the IV treatments, all that good stuff. Essentially, it's the theory that when blood is used in rituals and or magical ceremonies, it makes it that much more powerful and effective. So the idea is that blood is like the most important ingredient in these cases. So like, if you want to do something right, you got to have blood, the blood of a virgin or 1,000 babies or something. I don't know what they do, but you need blood. So blood is magic. You need blood for magic.
Fair enough. Bring on the blood.
So I always wondered why you have just barrels of blood on your driveway. Now I know you're just doing magic.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty much it.
Pretty much it. I'm going to make this blood disappear.
I'm going to go jump in this blood of barrel. Barrel of blood.
Your skin's looking a little less wrinkly this week, Cleet. You've been bathing in blood?
I'm actually like a 1,200-year-old person, so.
This is true. Okay, this one's a fun one. Google Earth black zones. So we've all spent a lot of time with Google Earth, right? We look up our addresses. You can go through like the national parks, whatever. You want to look at like Alcatraz. Sure, it's all fun stuff. But the theory here is focused on specific areas that are either blurred or completely blacked out. There are some very obvious areas, such as military zones, classified areas that are covered, but there are some really strange ones that don't really have an explanation, like Anthrax Island and stuff.
My backyard.
Yeah, I did wonder why, like, your house is perfectly clear. The backyard's just like this big, blurry, like, censored blob.
Yeah.
All the bodies back there.
It's the Anthrax Island I got back there.
Exactly. Some theorists state that these zones could be hidden by the Illuminati to cover up Satan's hiding places on Earth, which is pretty wild. Like, I just imagine you're scrolling through, Google Earth, and you're like, oh, god damn, look, it's Satan.
That's
He's like waving to the camera.
A 10-foot tall skeleton from Home Depot, or that's Satan.
It's 12 foot.
Oh.
And they're on sale. Well, they were on sale today, but they're gone.
My apologies.
That 2 feet matters, Cleet. And then I'm going to end with something called Crowdfunded Assassinations. And that's exactly as the name suggests. The theory here is that deep inside the dark web there exists a form of crowdfunding where you can pitch money in to help fund an assassination. Theorists believe that this could be something used to target like presidents or other world leaders, and the theory goes on to state that it's completely untraceable, mainly done via cryptocurrency, and once it reaches a certain amount, an assassin will take the job and carry out the deed. So I guess if you really wanted to contribute to some kind of assassination, there's a website for it.
Crypto death, baby.
Crypto death. Died by crypto.
Let's talk about the serpent seed.
The serpent seed?
Yeah. The doctrine of the serpent seed, also known as the dual seed or the two-seed line doctrine, is a controversial and fringe Gnostic Christian religious belief which explains the biblical account of the fall of man by stating that the serpent mated with Eve in the Garden of Eden, and the offspring of the union was Cain. This event resulted in the creation of two races of people, the wicked descendants of the serpent, who are destined for damnation, and the righteous descendants of Adam, who are destined to have eternal life. So, chick banged a snake.
I think the snake banged a chick.
Well, it depends on who you want to thrust responsibility upon.
used thrust in that statement? You just had to use the
there was
word
a
thrust?
lot of thrusting.
There's a lot of jokes with that one. I'm just not going to go there.
Panopticon.
Panopticon.
Panopticon is
Is
an
that like Comic-Con for porn?
No. It's an architectural form for a prison,
I was so off.
the drawings for which were published by Jeremy Bentham in 1791. It consists of a circular, glass-roof, tank-like structure with ceilings along the external wall facing towards a central rotunda. Guards stationed at the rotunda could keep all the inmates in the surrounding cells under constant surveillance. What was revolutionary about this concept was that the prisoners could not see if they were being surveilled at the time, meaning that it took fewer guards to man this theoretical prison.
Fascinating.
Let's talk about my favorite of the night,
Oh!
Inunki Village.
Inunki. I believe that sounds very familiar. Inunki Village. Where have I heard that before?
I don't know. I've never heard of this. I loved it. So, it's about a hidden village called Inunki, which lies in Fukuoka Prefecture.
That's where I heard it from.
It's told that when you enter it, you will see a sign that warns visitors about the danger of the village. Japanese laws are powerless, and you can be killed, raped, or whatever the people there want to do with you.
Oh, this is that island that
Not an island, it's on a mountain.
Okay. I'm thinking of like that island where like if you go, they will murder you.
Oh, no. No, this is in Japan.
Okay.
The place does not have any connection to the outer world, and incest, murder, and other crimes are common. Phones and electronic devices don't work, and many people already go lost in the forest surrounding the village. Some years ago, the place would be visited through a tunnel, but now the government closed it because of the cruel murder that took place. It's said that some youths killed and burned a young man, also that many visitors disappear or found their deaths around the region. It's worth to note now that this is an urban legend, and some of this cannot be substantiated. But I will tell you the urban legend itself.
Preach!
Or one of them. Sometime in the early 1970s, a young couple was driving up the slopes of the Inunki Ridge. They were heading for Hisama on the other side of the mountain, and to get there from Milwaukee, they had to pass a narrow road up the hill. Just before the Inunki Tunnel, a clunking sound was heard from the car. As they came out on the far side, the engine died, and they found themselves stranded. They noticed a passage on the right side of the road, so they left their car and started heading up to the forest to seek help. After a short while, they came across a handwritten sign reading, "The Constitution of Japan does not apply beyond this point." The trail was getting more difficult and overgrown as they continued, but a few hundred meters further in, they suddenly entered a small village.
Like, if you're going up camping, like, somewhere around here, and you're like, you see a sign, it's like, the laws do not apply here.
We will murder you, and we will be happy.
You are not protected past this point.
It was a town like they've never seen before. It seemed abandoned. The houses were all dark and dilapidated, and nobody could be seen from where they stood at the entrance. Checking their mobile phones, they noticed that there was no coverage, nor could they hear any sounds of people or animals. It was dead silent. They slowly ventured in on the main road, passing the shadows of the hovels. No one was to be seen or heard. The atmosphere was eerie. When they figured their curious hearts had had enough, they decided to walk back again. Something moved inside in one of the houses, and suddenly, a man stood up on the porch with a big gray building not more than 30 meters away. "Howdy there! Welcome to Inunki Village," he shouted.
This is in Japan?
Yeah, that's how they talk there. and with just a few steps, incredibly long and fast, he suddenly appeared right in front of him. "Well, we love visitors here," he said. "We just don't like them to leave us again."
Get the fuck out of there right now.
And with a swift motion, he cut down the young boy from his neck straight down to the side of his belly with a sickle.
Oh.
The young man just looked at him astonished before he collapsed on the ground. The girl tried to back away, but the old man seized her in a firm grip. He seemed to have some internal force that made his hands and arms stronger than anything she had ever felt before. With an almost inaudible groan, he lifted her straight up with one hand and threw her down on the graveled street with such brutality that she felt her ribs break. When the sickle came down on her, She turned her head towards the closest house. With horror, she saw what they hadn't noticed before. Behind and between the small buildings, there was dead people, decaying corpses all around. The reason for the silence and the darkness was that everyone was dead, killed by the mad old man with the sickle. He killed all of them, she thought, as the curved knife extinguished her life force in a single motion. The crazy man murdered them all. Nobody heard from them again. The white sedan still waits there, now covered with rust, punctured tires, parked on the side of the road, right where the small pathway leads to the forest.
Well, if that's not the most jolly happy story I've ever heard.
Yeah. Fuck
God damn. Well, it's going to be hard to follow that one, but let's go to something called Prana release, not like Piranha. So this theory was pretty vague. So I had to kind of piece it together as best I could because it was just really weird. But like we talked about a lot of like the inner self, the inner body, the subtle body, all that stuff. It's like very spiritual. But what I found is that Prana is described as a universal energy that exists within our subtle body channels. It's, from my understanding, another form of our energy and true selves. It's mainly felt via meditation and breathing practices. I know you do that a lot, so you probably feel that way more than I do. It's similar to the central nervous system in that the channels of our subtle body connect form and mind as kind of like a conduit of energy. The theory is that when we die, that energy, or prana, has to go somewhere, so it's released from our bodies, much like our soul. The difference here is that those around us in our time of death may be able to absorb the prana. So, like, if you were to die right now, I'd get stronger because, like, I'd absorb your soul. I might get weaker, actually.
I've been trying to take your prana for years.
I've been, like, saving my prana so much, so when I die, it's just going to be an explosion of energy. Just BAM! So that's prana release. It's just very, very spiritual, very, inner body stuff. But let's talk about something called the 24-hour year. This one was, again, kind of vague, and there were a couple possibilities, but the one I found most of is that some theorists believe that every 24 hours we experience a year, or a full trip around the sun. So every day, every 24 hours is a brand new year. Obviously, that means that all the scientific proof and shit that indicates it takes 365 days to fully orbit the sun is shit, and that every day is just another year. So, I guess like we'd be a lot older than we are now if every fucking day is a year.
I'm 33, 24 years old.
Yeah. So that's the idea. But there's also like another theory that states that like at some point in the creation that God stopped Earth for 24 hours, like just completely stopped the rotation. So there's like a 24-hour period missing from Earth. So those are kind of the two that are kind of similar, I guess, but that's it. But yeah, 24 hours every day is a year, man.
Damn it, Jesus. Give it back.
I need that day back. That's why we're always so tired. We're all missing a day, dude. Okay, and then I'll end with something called the corporate's kill list.
I've been on that.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
You're still here.
Yep. I'm like Jack Bauer, except I have no idea who that is.
He's on 24. I never watched it either, but... So another name giveaway, but essentially if a corporation has an issue with someone, they can find themselves on a kill list to be taken out. So these would obviously be kept super secret, carried out by assassins. The idea is simple, is if a corporation doesn't like someone, either via competitive reasons or some other personal vendetta, they could find themselves being wiped out. So corporates have a way of putting people on a list to be eliminated.
They just go up to you. They're like, you've been Chipotle Wade. They shoot you with like a burrito gun.
You've been Taco Bell. You're dead. Taco Bell, every time I eat Taco Bell, I feel like I'm on a fucking kill list. It doesn't even matter, man.
No one out Pizza's the Hut.
Exactly. Dead. And I could go on for hours. This is good. What's another one? Oh, it's like Charmin. Wanna snuggle? The little fucking creepy teddy bear.
Feeling pretty chilly in here.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
All right, this one is The Man from Earth. The Man from Earth was a book written in 1983 by Gordon Dixon. The concept of this book was adapted to a Star Trek episode by Jerome Dixby and a movie by the same name. The plot of the story is that the man was 12,000 years old and tells his colleagues of his entire experience living through the life of Christ and the rise of human civilization.
I think we're all probably 12,000 years old if every day is a year.
Yeah, maybe you're onto some. The theory in this is that the original author, Gordon, is actually this man himself or experiencing it. The theories range with his predictions of history and his discrepancies of what happened throughout history. All theories point that Gordon used this book to confess to the readers of his true nature. All right, next one is Interdimensional Bigfoot.
Hell yeah.
So the parallel dimensional community
It's a thing, man. It's a real fucking thing.
is known to believe in portals connecting alternate dimensions or universes together. Some Bigfoot enthusiasts believe this is why Bigfoot has never been seen.
Because he's just fucking time hopping.
He's like, see ya, I'm going through my big dark portal.
Maybe Mel's Hole is part of it, man.
Maybe. Claims have been made that places near Bigfoot sightings have seen strange fauna changing and certain acoustic vibrations within the air. This interdimensional travel is pinged to other cryptids as well. So it's like, well, you don't see the Mothman because he just goes through his little protective hole and you don't see him anymore.
So all the cryptids are just accessing this strange portal that they can go from one place to another.
Yeah, the New Jersey Devil's flying. He's about to get caught. And he's like, I'm going to go to my special hole. You'll never find me there.
The Hodag's just like, I'm out. Gumbaroo just slithers on down that secret hole.
Okay, I may have lied. I think that this one is my favorite one of the night. And it's called Organic Blackhawk Helicopters.
Oh.
Black helicopters are not just helicopters with black paint job, as you may have been told. They are, in fact, autonomous agent life forms created by the New World Order.
Forget everything you know about black helicopters, which is little at this point.
They're made via biotechnology. Their primary purpose is to spy on the activities of the average citizen in order to gather tactical information and discover subversives who are not bowing to the will of the Liberatis, UN-backed federal government.
Wow.
Furthermore, when the NWO invasion takes place in the not too distant future, they will round up citizens for intermittent in concentration camps or carry out the elimination of the more vocally anti-liberati.
Oh my God.
Black helicopters have I have to do an entire episode on this because I was laughing when I found this.
Oh my God, this is a thing.
Black helicopters have a complex reproductive cycle with different phases.
Jesus Christ.
They start out as seed crystals that are injected into a biological host organism.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Typically cattle, but occasionally
cattle.
humans. But either human technicians or other black helicopters. After a few weeks, the MBH grows large enough, about 20 to 30 centimeters in length, that it bursts forth from the guts of its hosts. The artificial live birth leaves the host organism dead and is the source of most cattle mutilations.
So a fucking helicopter bursts out of their chest. This is like Alien, but for helicopters, is what you're saying. I feel like we can just stop here. Like, I feel like the conspiracies are just over at this point. We're talking about reproductive black helicopters bursting out of cattle chest.
Those bastards.
Are you serious right now? That's a thing?
That's my favorite conspiracy theory.
This one is manatees are humans. I'll say it again. Manatees are humans.
Yeah, didn't your ugly ex-wife look like a manatee?
I don't have an ugly ex-wife.
Oh,
I would have to have been married in like my junior year in high school for that to happen. The idea here states that manatees are in some shape or form human. Some theories state that they could be a descendant from Atlantean people, right? So like Atlantean people, got together and they banged, and manatees are like the outcome, right? So I'm not sure if it's like some weird form of like inbreeding, or if humans got like sick of each other, and but anyways, the other theory is that they are believed to be cursed sailors who became lost at sea and like essentially had an evolutionary leap to become what we know as manatees.
Wow.
So the next time you see a manatee, because I think we see them all day, every day, it's a human. This one's good. I really like this one. It's the John Teeter Project.
Yeah, I know John Teeter.
Yeah.
He's the alien who visited us on, was it Reddit or 4chan?
This deals with some good old-fashioned time travel.
That was time travel, sorry.
So in 1998, late-night paranormal talk show host Art Bell received 2 faxes from someone claiming to have information on time travel. Now, if the name Art Bell is ringing a bell, that's because it's the same guy who interviewed Mel Waters about the bottomless pit on his property known as Mel's Hole.
We're still doing our deep dive into Mel's dark abyss, or his hole. And we'll be doing another episode soon.
His holy abyss. His abysmal hole.
He's got a deep hole, and we got to go in there.
Nope. But yeah, so anyway, if you haven't heard our Mel's Hole episodes, please do. But yeah, this guy gets a lot of weird faxes, man. My hole is never ending, and then this guy's claiming he knows something about time travel. But anyway, back to the story here. The first fax that he receives talks about the particle accelerator at CERN, and that he is from the year 2034, which is, 12 years away from here. He stated that there was a brick wall that existed in the timeline and that no one could go to the year 2564. The second fax was more vague, but offered photographic evidence and scans of the time machine's manual. On November 2nd, 2000, someone using the name timetravel_0 posted a thread titled Time Travel Paradoxes. On January 27th, 2001, the same user appears on Art Bell's post-to-post BBS with a new thread titled I am from 2036. What would you do if you got a fax that said, I'm from the future?
I'd be like, what are the lotto numbers?
There you go. He wrote, Greetings. I am a time traveler from the year 2036. I'm on my way home after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by 2 top-spin dual-positive singularities that produce a standard offset Tipler's sinusoid. I will be happy to post pictures of the unit. He called himself John Teeter, and he went on to answer questions about his machine, even describing what it was and how it worked. And on March 24th, 2001, John Teeter wrote his final message. I will be leaving this world line shortly, and this will be my final post. He's never heard from again. Still, to this day, no one knows who he is, what he looked like, or anything of that nature.
Damn it, John, where'd you go?
So,
where'd you teeter to?
Okay. And then last is Russian crime dungeons. Don't Google this.
Oh, no.
Do not Google Russian crime dungeons, because you're going to get some pretty crazy shit. Like, literally, like, every torture that Russians have ever done comes up. But from what I could find that tied even remotely to this, I think it was, like, just referencing to gulags, which are essentially dungeons or prisons of sorts where prisoners were thrown in and kept indefinitely to fend for themselves and ultimately die. Like, it's literally like a hole or a place where you just put someone that you do not want to deal with. Like, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You're going to go here. You're going to die when you die. Peace.
Like Batman. They threw him in a hole.
Yeah. After Bane broke his back, depending on the arc you want to listen to.
But will he be back? I don't know.
Guess who's back? Back again. Batman's back. Anyway, that's my 3.
All right. Let's jump into the old universal communion. This is the idea that everyone from any religion can take communion, not just Catholic people. People point out that this idea is peddled by globalists that want to combine all world religions into one. And I don't know why, but, maybe get us somehow because of that.
Well, I mean, we talked about it last time. Like, it just seems so effective to just have one. It's just so efficient.
Those damn globalists. All right. The next one is there are no forests.
There are no forests?
Yeah, there's no forests.
These don't exist?
Well, hang on.
So what have we enjoyed so much while camping under a nice starlit sky in a tent?
Let me explain.
Some jackass snoring 15 feet from your tent?
I was sawing logs.
Some guy's puking in the bushes?
This idea is that every forest that we know isn't a forest, but small sprouts or stems of what are really trees. The trees are all the mountains that we see from the mountain ranges to plateaus, and they're just shaved down trees. And the trees that grow up from them are soft, just like grass coming from their cracks. You have grass coming from your cracks, Britton?
No, I typically trim it down pretty well.
Fair enough. This theory talks about a totally different world full of giant trees, that change dramatically after a severe catastrophe. It also talks about how rocks, as we know them, are simply pebbles of greater rocks. Essentially, we are living in the remnants of a lost utopia.
Sure. And this utopia was spawned from meteors.
Yeah, probably.
Interesting.
All right, this one I had trouble finding, so I had to get creative. Dwarves Secret Society. It always kept taking me to goddamn Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I don't care about that.
You care about Lord of the Rings?
Because we're talking about conspiracies here. So, are there dwarves in the mountain, Britain? Are there dwarves hiding amongst us?
Yeah, it's Hobbiton.
Are they just hiding under the bushes, trying to get you when you're not looking?
It's the troglodytes, which we've covered.
Students from Latoka Methodist School reported seeing about 8 mysterious little figures believed to be dwarves in reeds near the school. The figure, about 2 feet height and covered with black hair, hastily moved away into nearby bushes with children when children began to approach them.
That would freak me the fuck out.
Oh yeah, just a bunch of things looking from you. You just see eyes from the reeds.
My garden gnome came alive!
The students' excitement brought more students and teachers from the Methodist school and the nearby Lakota Fijian school. Scores of neighbors rushed to the scene as the news spread. The dwarves seemed to have jumped into a pit near the bush.
It's that fucking hole that Bigfoot's going into.
Yeah. But upon investigation, none of them could be found there. The head teacher of the Methodist school, Miss Sandarand Nayara, said since the sighting on Wednesday afternoon, dozens of people have been gathering near the pit in the expectation of the doors reappearing. Some with the fear that the little men might be harmful sit there for hours armed with torches and sticks waiting for them to reappear. That's it. Maybe doors exist. I don't know.
They're just hopping from one garden to the next to the little goddamn portals, dude.
Yeah.
Tall grass. So we're going to go into something called Asian blood types. It's also known as blood type personality theory. This is an idea that is prevalent in Japan and South Korea and states that your blood type or blood group system will determine your personality. You believe that? Like your blood type will determine your personality.
That's wacky.
It can also determine your temperament and compatibility around others. It's believed that Japan developed this theory based off a claim from Emil von Dungern, a German scientist who stated that those with a B blood type were inferior. The theory overall is considered to be a superstition by the scientific community, and they kind of relate it to like us, or like most people basing personality on astrological signs. Like, oh, you're a Scorpio, so you must be a dick.
Oh, you're a Pisces? You must be a fish.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is called Ghost Condensate. No, it's not about ghosts condensating, as I thought it was. And this one's really weird and very scientific. So it gets a little difficult to summarize because it jumps super deep into particle physics, and I'm not a particle physician. When dealing with physics, there are many different types of fields which represent different forms of phenomena. In the quantum field theory, practically everything that can be observed and theorized happens due to the presence of space-time field whose excitations, which are local, non-zero values, represent what we can observe in certain situations, right?
Yeah, of course. That makes 100% sense.
Perfect. So when we take a ghost, right, in quantum field theory, it's theorized to exist in order to make a more general theory match observations. Still following me? Because I'm already lost. A ghost will adjust the values of another field or a combination of the two fields. Scientists don't like to think that ghosts exist, but if they don't exist, it's difficult to explain certain observations in which their existence is the simplest explanation.
This guy is 4 equal sides from being a square.
Yeah. Rationally, we don't like to believe in the supernatural, but when something happens that we cannot explain, it's an easy scapegoat, right? Like, I don't know why the can just decided to levitate in the air. It must be a ghost. Now, the term condensate is a non-zero average value for a field over time in the absence of any excitation from some interaction that's interesting to physics. Ultimately, ghost condensate is a phenomenon where a field produces a non-zero average correction to the values predicted to exist in another field. Again, I tried to summarize this as best I could because it's just a bunch of nonsense to me, But the theory here is that if we took this phenomenon and could use it correctly, it would allow us superluminal information transfer, or communicating and traveling faster than the speed of light through a vacuum. It would change what we know about physics and the universe.
Yeah, I just want to know why my window's wet, god damn it.
Yeah. So it's not about like a sweaty ghost who's like trying to scare you and it's like super condensating. It's about physics. Right. I was super excited when I was like, oh, ghost condensate. We're going to be like talk about like ghost sweat that's just like dripping in the middle of the night. No, we didn't get that. And I'm going to end with something called, or with a theory called Shanina Isum. And I don't know why this was on here because it's not really even a conspiracy theory. But Shanina Isum is a woman from Memphis, and she endured a strange and unknown medical condition in which she grew nails rather than hair from her hair follicles. Like fingernails.
That's gross.
Due to this strange condition, Shanina lost all of her hair and instead has a form of hard scab or nail which replaced all of the hair on her body. Doctors believe that the illness was caused by an allergic reaction because in 2009 she was prescribed steroids after having an asthma attack. A few after the steroids were administered, she began to describe an itching sensation all over her body, which was followed by numerous black bumps. Doctors treated everything from eczema to staph infections, which did nothing to stop the bumps from appearing. 2 years later, the doctors concluded that the bumps were human nails. So again, it's not really a conspiracy theory. It actually happened. I don't know why this was on the list, but just a rather crazy, unexplainable medical mystery.
Instead of getting a haircut, she got her hair clipped.
She just went to what's a manicure for a whole body? A body cure?
She went to Great Clips.
They do hair, which she doesn't have.
This one is Breatharianism. Breatharianism is an Eastern movement that claims people are able to live on very little food and that a diet of air and sunlight is enough to sustain the human body.
Is it not, though?
Are you a breatharian, Britton?
You just walk out, it's like, I just need some air and the sun.
I just don't eat anything. I think you're just complaining about not being able to buy food because you're being rude.
Wait, isn't there a song? All I need is the air that I breathe and to love you.
Yeah, that's it. She was a breatharian.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So especially, breatharians believe that their own energy, known as Prana, is a kind of nourishing life force and can be absorbed from the air.
See? And then when you die, it explodes out of you and it goes into everyone else.
Yeah. You just got to kill people. You don't have to eat.
That's like Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. Here's a fun one. Memphis rap.
Memphis rap?
Oh, boy. Oh, you get ready for this. This is a brand of rap that originates from Memphis, obviously. The original name of this is Horrorcore. So scary core. Horrorcore.
Horrorcore?
As a lot of the music is composed of spooky noises and has lyrics that discuss murder and suicide and other heavy concepts.
Jesus.
It gives an overall feeling of creepy to what listeners describe as feeling like they should not be listening to this. 3-6 Mafia, which is now a famous rap group, and if you think about the name, 3-6 alludes to 666, was one of the pioneers of this genre. Their original tracks were named The Daughter of the Devil and talking of Satanism and rituals and things such as. The idea is Memphis rap is a confession of demonic events or sort of an inner look at it.
I can see that becoming like your new favorite music genre.
Oh, I was one of the pioneers. I can't believe they didn't put me in this. All right, the last one is Ural Relief Maps. The Ural Relief Maps is a reference to a white stone slab that was found in 1995. While doing research in the Ural Mountains, a Russian researcher discovered these texts from the 18th century that said there were several stone slabs that were used as maps of the area. The researchers then went out to try to discover whatever the stone slab was and came upon a small village in the Ural Mountains that brought forward one of these slabs. One of these stone slabs was a perfect one-to-one replica of the valley they were in, but not only that, it had perfectly mapped out irrigation systems, dams, and other large-scale structures that could not have been built at the time the stone was dated, which was anywhere from 8,000 to 120 million years old. Not only that, but the edges of the map, from what it looks like, the edges had been cut out, implying that it was a bigger piece of a bigger structure. This, as you could imagine, is one of the reference points used when talking about ancient aliens.
Buckle up, folks, because we are on the last 3 of part 1 of Tier 5. We're going to start with the theory that Bitcoins were created by banks.
All right.
So it's fun to research because when you type it into the good old Google machine, you get a bunch of like crypto purchasing sites. So you're like, hey, buy crypto.
Yeah, Coinbase.
You have to scroll way down to get into the conspiracies, but it's another one where the name essentially speaks for itself, and the idea is that banks created the cryptocurrency as they felt currency was on its way out the door, and they needed to create another form of it. It's an attempt to control the currency no matter what form it takes. Theorists also suggest that the banks created the alias of Satoshi Nakamoto, who was the creator of cryptocurrency, as a form to make their own enemy. So they're like, oh yeah, that guy, it's not real. It's the banks got together and made this alias up to say, oh, he created crypto, he's trying to take the banks out, but the banks really made crypto.
Yeah, he's like the Robin Hood that never existed.
Yeah, it's just the banks, man. They're trying to get your money no matter where you're trying to put it. This one's a fun one. It's Psychotropic Warfare.
Been there.
I bet you have. So this theory states that mind-altering drugs have been used on the enemy to incapacitate them via delirium, hallucinations, and so much more. This type of warfare dates all the way back to 184 BC in Hannibal's army during the colonization of America. It's said that Chief Powhatan used psychotropic warfare against the white settlers. Drugs like anticholinergic alkaloids, henbanes, LSD, and more were used. These drugs would affect the central and peripheral nervous systems, which caused hallucinations, affected emotions, and confused sensory perception. It's believed by some that this type of warfare was used in MKUltra, which we did cover in a previous tier. During 1962 and 1978, Hungary debated on the possibilities of using methamphetamine as a psychotropic weapon. Talk about a whole new meaning on the war on drugs, am I right?
Yeah, just got to grab some of that and grab your guns.
It's like, hang on, truce. Here, we're just going to do a bunch of shrooms. We're going to go over here. You guys enjoy those shrooms.
In the Midwest, that's how we always pick up our guns.
Okay, we're going to end with new chronologies and history denials.
Jesus.
That's a big one. This one is really deep and could be used as an entire episode, but in this instance, we're going to do a highlighted version. This theory was proposed by Anatoly Fomenko and essentially argues that certain historical events and time periods either don't exist or happened at a different time than we originally thought. Fomenko focuses on the ancient civilizations of Rome, Greece, and Egypt and states that they actually occurred during the Middle Ages. The theory continues to state that events prior to AD 1600 have been widely falsified to suit the Vatican, Holy Roman Empire, and Russian House of Romanov. He believes that the quote-unquote true history of the world was centered around an empire called the Russian Horde. So like I said, you could literally go on. He goes on about all these events that either just didn't happen or were different time periods, but essentially history as we know it may or may not be factual.
Goddamn Russian Horde.
But that concludes part 1 of Tier 5, and folks, as we said, the journey is just beginning.
We're just dipping our ankles into the 5th level.
No. We're not dipping anything. We're jumping head first.
And it's my 5th personality type. That's kind of weird.
That is really weird. Next month, we'll go ahead and wrap up Tier 5. But we do ask all of you viewers and listeners, if you have a subject or a topic that you'd like us to cover, please send them in to us at entertheabysspod@gmail.com. And again, check out our TikTok page. We've only got a couple on there, but hopefully we'll get a couple more coming through soon. And we're going to have some interesting pictures being posted on Facebook soon about some AI doing some pictures for us.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
They're pretty weird looking.
Well, guys, we're at about 186 YouTube subscribers. Help us get to 200. That'd be pretty neat. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.